welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name's Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my buddy John Taylor. And John, boy, do I feel good to be wearing a shirt this week.
Normally, you ask me how I'm doing, and I was going to say terrible because you have a shirt on. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's not that I'm wearing a shirt because I won a bet and you lost a bet. It's just we didn't place a bet because we both thought the Packers are going to win this game against the Dolphins, and they did.
Yeah, you went full naysayer and had to pay the Pied Piper.
Yeah, last week. This week, I learned my lesson. I was like,
no Piper.
No Piper to pay with pickled peppers.
That's right.
The Packers on Thanksgiving beat the Dolphins 30-17. John, you predicted 31-24. I predicted 28-20.
Yeah. I just want to say I'm kicking myself because I almost predicted it off by 1 point. I said 31-17, but they're going to get a prevent defense touchdown at the end of the game. And they got a stop, and it didn't happen. So yeah. Pretty devastated to be just continually more right than you, but yeah, still missing the mark ultimately.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's rough.
I think I give NFL teams too much credit, if I'm honest. Like I just constantly it's the NFL. They're gonna score in like a backdoor score. You know, where the way the Packers play, it's like teams have to start just really slinging the pill, and they just got to do their best to not let it be completely terrible. So, we'll see. I have no real thought on this game. I'm hoping that maybe as we discuss this, very rare Lions pregame preview show, since we're so close to the Thursday night game.
Excuse me.
It's not our fault. The NFL decided to completely turn the Packers into a Thursday night squad.
Right. Well, before we get in, okay.
Yeah. Let's pump the brakes.
First of all, let's back up a little bit. Weird thing with our scheduling because of the Thursday game. I've already decided next week, we're on a short week, right? Yep. So we're putting this out before the Lions game on Thursday, but we're going to be right back on Sunday. So if you're like, yo, where's my episode? Next episode will be right there. Okay. That being said, this game against the Dolphins was I wasn't worried really at any point. This has played a great game. And I know that you and I talked on the episode previous about the Dolphins playing in the cold. And on the first drive for the Packers was not a good drive.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, don't look like they had much trouble. But then the Packers just ran away with it.
Yep. All of the energy and heat they could muster in Green Bay that day was used on the first defensive drive where they got us on a 3-and-out. And the rest was soft, timid, uninterested football by the Dolphins. I'm not surprised. You take on the leadership of your coach, Mike McDaniel, just like a fucking frail nerd calling plays, acting like it's Madden. So do the players, it's like a really sexy offense in 80-degree weather, in times where you have to play hard-nosed football in the trenches. You will look at the way the Bills played the 49ers on Sunday, and it's like, that's the same division. I mean, it's not even really fair to the Dolphins. It's absurd that the Dolphins have to play in New England and Buffalo and New York. Whatever. I don't feel this isn't a pity the Dolphins podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what the hell are you doing?
I just think it's funny.
I think that the Dolphins should just be more aware of the teams that they play. Blast the AC. I don't know. Make literally when McDaniel was asked prior to the game how he was going to get the team ready for the cold, he said, I'm going to have ice cubes in my pocket and just chuck them at players. That was his response. Legitimately his response.
Yeah, he's a smarmy, unserious guy, and so is their football team.
And the thing is, I get you can be that way if then you back it up. But then when you say something like that, and then you come to Lambeau and all of the stats that the pundits and everyone else was using beforehand of, this team and Tua, they don't play well in the cold. And then they don't play well in the cold. It's a bad look, bud.
Yeah, it's very funny. It was very funny hearing all of the national punditry be like, under 50. And it's like, how much would you kill for 50-degree weather in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now? You know what I mean? 100%. And then everybody James Jones, I was watching a clip. So I have this really just disgusting habit of just wanting to see what the national media is saying about the Packers after they win. I'm on YouTube looking up Green Bay Packers ESPN because I'm trying to find the worst, most surface level takes from people who don't watch. And there is one with, James Jones is on the show. It's Acho, Emmanuel Acho, and some other guy. Either way, it's LaShawn McCoy. They're just talking about James Jones in the middle of it was and can we just talk about 28 degrees? Isn't that cold? And everybody was like, I'm from Texas. That's terrible. But he was like, it's not even, it's not that cold. And they were like, it's below freezing. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
which it is.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
It is. But, James Jones is talking about those iconic Packers games in January where it's like, you hope it breaks double digits, when it's like towards the end of January, you're like, oh, shoot, the game's going to be in the teens. Good for them. They're going to be able to throw the ball around a little bit.
All right. It's not going to feel like an ice block being chucked around. Yeah.
I
mean, I definitely think that there's cold and then there's Lambeau cold. And it was just cold. Like, it's just cold.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving Day. It was not Lambeau cold. So I get where he's coming from. Either way, the Dolphins looked like a team that weren't ready, and I loved it. I love that was the case. How much do you think personally this Packers team improved, taking the factor of who they were playing out of it? I know that's hard because you play to your opponent, but
well, I'll say this two ways, and I'll jump in on the question just because I'm thinking about it. I think it's the most complete game the Packers have put together all season, and that counts for something because a lot of their mistakes was them getting in their own way. That's what everyone keeps saying. So it's you limit all the bad penalties. I mean, there still was like a good amount of defensive offsides, which is getting like pretty unacceptable.
Annoying.
Because it's not even like encroachment. You're offsides, which means you're just not checking in with the line judge that you're not in, so there's some like silly stuff that way. But I just think all around, a lot of the things that were keeping the Packers from winning, the 3 games they lost were the Packers. And you just didn't see that in this game. And you really didn't see it against the 49ers. So I say that to say this. At this point, what we need to see from the Packers to really believe that they could be Super Bowl contenders or make a deep playoff push truly has nothing to do with the status of the opponent. It's about consistency, rhythm, players performing and executing. Because if you look at the games where they lost versus the games that we think they've won competitively or competently, why not both? I think you'll see that like it's execution. It's play call execution, it's preparation. So, and those are all things that have nothing to do with the opponent. So I feel really good about this Packers team. I don't think you could ask for a better set of 2 games going up against the Lions again. So
I agree. I wanted to get your opinion because I do feel like the defense did play better, but it's very hard for me to give them credit because I'm just like, especially after is this a fluke? Because here's the thing. If I'm saying, okay, they figured some stuff out, right? This is the big test. This is back up against the Lions, who, when the Packers played the Lions the first time, they had opportunities. They had chances to win that game. It was not a blowout of, oh my God, this team is just so much better. It was not the Niners versus the Packers of, what was that, 2019. Like this was, okay, there's a chance. Now we look at this matchup against the Lions this week, and I'm saying, okay, is this team, this Packers team, I guess this is a two-parter, and I was thinking about this a lot leading up to tonight. Is this Packers team, A, as good as they're going to be? And B, is that good enough to beat the Lions?
On Thursday or down the road when it really matters?
On Thursday, tonight. Or
is
this Thursday
tomorrow?
Night?
Tonight, because we're recording because it's Thursday when you're listening to this.
Correct.
Doing that classic podcast magic.
Yeah.
It's Thursday. It's game day, baby. We're both excited.
Yeah, can't wait. Big game tonight.
I think the biggest thing that you said a lot there, and so I'm trying to figure out how I want to parse it. I mean,
just the two things, and we can break it down. But first, do you see this Packers team truly getting significantly better leading up to the end of the regular season?
Yes.
Or okay, you do.
Emphatically. I do. I think that we are seeing closer to what this Packers team can accomplish in terms of performance. 100%. Yes.
Because you just got done saying that this was the best overall game that this team had played. So, taking that into account, like that's a pretty high bar of what you're going to expect from this team week in and week out. If you're saying, like if I'm saying that team that you just said had their best game all season, And I'm saying, okay, how much higher than the best game they had all season can this team perform? And you still, and now that leads to part two. Do you think that that team can beat the Lions?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there's some context here that we're missing, which is a ton of injuries from the Lions. The Lions are not the same team that we played 3 weeks ago, just purely from a roster standpoint, because of how many injuries they've suffered. Two guys, Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez are now on IR for the rest of the year. They signed Jamal Adams. I think they're going to play him at like linebacker or this weird like hybrid like box down. I just don't think and then there's a couple other Lions injury. Sorry, the report came out, and so I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. Yeah, so they don't have DJ Reader on the line, as well as there's some other guys, but that's the big one that they were kind of monitoring. There was 2 guys I was monitoring on the lines that I was curious about. It was DJ Reader and then Taylor Decker, and I think those are huge losses. I would say bigger than not having Jair Alexander go, which obviously it's just been reported that Jair Alexander is out and Romeo Dobbs is still in concussion protocol, sadly, so he won't make the game either. But and then Ballantyne is still out, I think, and then Edrin Cooper is out. So we're going to see Keyshawn Nixon and Corey Valentine. Where is it? Yeah.
I don't know that, and I want to get into it more than just the injury front on why you think that can happen, but I just have a hard time seeing at this point in the season this team getting significantly better, because they're not bad.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that this team is in a bad place. They played a great game. Like, the last few games, this team has been what we were hoping for 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. So, like, I'm very happy with the way that this team's playing. I'm just saying I don't see them getting significantly better. And so I'm looking at where they are based on how they played against Miami. And I don't know that that team is good enough to go up against the Lions. And
the Lions team that almost lost to the Texans after throwing four or 5 interceptions. The Lions team that should have got pushed to overtime by an ineffectual Bears team, that ended up costing their head coach their job. I know they didn't, but I'm just saying at some point here, the Lions are, I think, returning back to where they actually are, and I think the Packers are finally reaching where they should be. I'm just saying these teams on paper are far more competitive when you go down the roster, especially with their current makeup. So I guess I'm just saying, like, I'm not a negative fan, and I'm not saying you're a negative fan. You just say there's a lot of doubt. You're not seeing. There's a lot of like they need to show me more. And for me, I'm like, there's a reason why so many people, and I believe it as well, pick the Packers to be potential Super Bowl favorites. I think the Lions are in a class above almost every other NFL team besides like the Eagles, but the Packers are a good enough football team to beat any other team in the league. They're, so
I don't disagree with that. I think I think they're a sneaky pick to win the whole damn thing. Like I said, I am not sitting here now and saying this Packers team is garbage or they're not good enough. I'm saying I don't think they're better than the Lions. I don't think they're a better team. And so this is the team that the Packers are playing this week. They're playing the Lions, and it just is giving me the 2019 vibes of going against the Niners, of just like not going to be able to get past this team now or in the playoffs if it ends up that the Packers play the Lions in the playoffs. Now, the injuries obviously are a huge factor and something that could sway it one way or another, but the Lions have found a way to win games regardless of if, QB's having a bad night, receiving's having a bad, it doesn't matter. They're finding ways to win. I don't know that the Packers have been in many of those situations. It's been kind of, you lost and it was not fun, or they won, So
yeah, there was a couple we found ways to win games. There's some grit wins. The Texans was a game field goal that shouldn't have been there. There was another. I mean, the Bears block, that's one. So it's like this team has the grit to find ways to win. I don't know. You're attaching feelings to a team because of the situation that I think that 2019 49ers team dog walks this Lions team. I really think that team was so utterly talented in so many different ways that if the 49ers end up moving on from like Shanahan or what's the GM's name? He played John. I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah.
John Lynch. John Lynch.
Yeah.
If they move away from them because of this like Super Bowl hangover, like it will be one of the greatest travesties in football of a roster talent that just never could round the corner. So because the Lions, we lost to them in Green Bay last year, and then we boat raced them in Detroit. Do I think that's going to happen tomorrow? No. If I wake up Friday morning and go, man, I can't believe the Packers boat race the Lions, I also wouldn't be surprised because the Packers' explosives and ability to make plays are numerous and really, really exciting. You know, Jordan Love has like the best deep ball accuracy in all of the league. So it's like if we can get design looks and we can kind of get Christian Watson out in space and really kind of open up the field, like I think the Packers offense can hang with the Lions defense. I mean, the Lions didn't attempt more than one pass beyond 10 yards. And that's because of Xavier McKinney. He was on an interview after the Dolphins game just being like, yeah, they just don't throw deep on me. And it was like pretty arrogant, but it's true. The Packers aren't even playing cover 2 anymore. They're just playing cover X. And they're just going, nah, we're not touching that. You know what I mean? So it's like, so as long as the Packers can figure out a way to actually limit the production on those like 4 to 7 yard passes, they can beat anybody in this league, you know? And I think Decker is a big loss in terms of establishing Gibbs and Montgomery. I mean, they're terrifying. Don't get me wrong. Like the Lions roster is absurd, especially when you look at like the skill positions. But I mean, I think there's probably Lions fans going, man, it just takes one game and the Packers are going to like, you know what I mean? They're, you know, we're the boogeymen for a lot of teams too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a coin flip, really. I think it is. You know, if we would have played this game after the Bears game, I would have been like, the Lions are going to beat us. But I think we stacked 2 really great games, and I just mean we're getting better. I don't know what the ceiling is. I hope we see it when they hoist the Lombardi, but for now, there's definitely room to grow. You know, and part of that is the fact that since the Preston Smith trade, it really feels like the defensive line is getting pressure. They're affecting the quarterback. They had a bunch of really big sacks on Tua last game, and a few on Brandon Allen or whatever. So we're seeing the things that I was saying in the beginning of the year we needed to see improve. So I think the cornerback issue is going to be the biggest liability. And that's just because you didn't build this team thinking Jair wasn't going to be able to go as much as he hasn't, you know? And I'm seeing a lot of people say he's like soft. It's like the dude tore a ligament off his bone. He's trying to come back. You know how much easier it would be for him to just be like, put me on IR. I'm not going to try to fight back. So it's like, you know, these guys want to play. Like you can argue, I could understand an argument where you say he has not earned the contract that he got. And if he wants to stay in Green Bay, that needs to get readdressed. I would be up for hearing that conversation. If you want to have a conversation about how the fact that he can't play the star anymore because of his shoulder, which was what made him one of the top 3 best cornerbacks in the league, I would entertain that argument. I think he's probably within the top 10 still, but if you wanted to put him at 10, I wouldn't fight you on that. But to act like this dude doesn't care or doesn't want to play, or the fact that the defense isn't materially better when he's on the field, it's a joke, you know, and you don't need advanced analytics to appreciate his impact on the field. So
it's very true. It's very true. I mean, people are going to talk that way though, because they're emotional and also because they are thinking back to they're not just assessing this injury. They're looking, it's the same thing with Aaron Jones. You know, they'll be like, when Aaron Jones was here, it was, well, yeah, but go back and look at all of the times he was injured. That's the big difference. Well, okay. So they're doing the same thing right now with Jair.
Well, this is a great time to switch over. I mean, you're talking about what? Josh Jacobs had another 100+ all-purpose yards game.
Dude, Jacobs is
he's better than Aaron Jones this year.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like
undeniable.
you know what? Because I feel bad being like, no, that's a great point about Aaron Jones, but also Aaron Jones wouldn't be doing this for the Green Bay Packers right now. So,
100%. But imagine if we had both. That was always my thing.
It was 48 minutes. It was never going to happen. They picked one or the other. It was
don't say that. Don't tell me. Don't tell me that.
Here's my new hot take, and I'm going to cover the mic so it sounds like a secret. I'm not going to do that. The sounds is bad. The real secret take is, I think if they both would have been here, they would have been cannibalizing each other's carries, and I don't think either one of them would be as good as they are right now.
Oh, you think it would have been like a Giannis Dame situation?
No, because Giannis and Dame have figured it out officially, and they are red hot. So don't bury the lead here. We're
Okay.
gonna talk
All right. Yeah,
later.
we'll get there. We'll get there. But come on, that's too easy.
It was easy.
No,
Also,
you very well
basketball
could
is
be
so
right.
different than football. You
Nope,
can't apples and
exactly the
oranges.
same, completely transferable
Same game. Yep.
100%. The point is that Josh Jacobs has been just an absolute stud.
Yep.
I mean, plain and simple, especially the last three games. I mean, destroying it.
Yeah.
Just keep that man going. And also, I just love the confidence in him. Like, that's also something we did not see with Aaron Jones. How many times did we have to say, give Jones the ball? Why the hell are they not running the ball?
Yeah.
Jacobs is getting plenty of carries, getting plenty of touches.
Well, I think that whole Aaron Jones thing is twofold, right? I think one was you had Aaron Rodgers, so it's going to be a pass first offense,
Correct.
and justifiably so. And two, he's kind of a small running back. He's dynamic, he's electric, he's an incredible playmaker, but he's a small running back. And so I think you watched them limit his touches on purpose. And some of those injuries kind of made it so he was fresher later. It's never great when you go, that injury that kept Aaron Jones out of the season for 6 weeks might be really good in the playoffs because he's going to have fresher legs. It's like, well, here's the crazy idea. Get a running back who can just run. It's like you look at like the Derrick Henrys, the Saquon Barkleys, the Josh Jacobs in the world, and it's like they can run 20 plus games for 17 weeks because their bodies are built like Mack trucks, So, and this doesn't have to be an Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs litigation. I just think like what's exciting to me is this is the first time in the Matt LaFleur era we're seeing a run first offense. Like this is what
it's the first time in forever. The Packers have had a run.
Truly a guy like this since like Amon Green. I mean, really, like, or Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy's probably the last like comparable big who could.
But even then, you still had Aaron Rodgers, so it was pass
for
first.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
That's why I don't know in our lifetime if I can remember a time where it was like, no, Packers are a run first team.
Yeah. And, having the run game like that opens up that play action. Jordan Love looks way healthier. You know what I mean? You want to talk about looking fully healthy. So getting a lot more motions, getting a lot more movement. I think he's getting really good movement in the pocket. He's looking a lot sprier. He uncorked a ball that sailed like 4 yards over Christian Watson on that first drive. And he was like fully jumped. And I think I've said this before on here, but like it's taking me a long time to calibrate my expectations because he can just effortlessly throw a ball 60 yards downfield. I'm constantly watching balls release. I'm just saying it's arm. It's not like a violent throw like Favre had. Favre looked like he was throwing every single yard of a 70-yard pass. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Jordan's just kind of like, yeah, that'll go 80 yards. And so to watch that one sail, I'm always like, man, this dude's arm is so impressive. And everybody knows that, but it's just like those little things. Even when they're misses, I'm like, man, that is so sick. It is so cool we have Jordan Love on our football team.
Yeah.
Especially during Toyotathon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Especially during Toyotathon. No, look, I'm not gonna lie. I think that the offense is in a great spot. Stay healthy.
Yeah,
that's my key to the offense. All year though, it's been mostly the defense.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the offensive line needs to stay healthy because you want to talk about like how do the Packers win this game? You don't have Elton Jenkins be your center because there was 2 really bad snaps. There was a lot of really bad penalties. Yep. Josh Myers is playing well enough to have me go, did he earn himself another contract here in Green Bay? And I didn't think he would, but he's playing well enough. And it's just not a question mark. When you talk about like the center, it's just not the most valuable position. So to have a serviceable center, the whole line's great. Sean Ryan has very clearly cemented himself as the right guard. He's been playing incredible. I mean, Zach Tom is a Pro Bowler. Elton Jenkins is a Pro Bowler. Rasheed Walker is back to looking like the Rasheed Walker we saw last year. So, that's the only real question mark. You see Dobbs go out, and it's like, well, next man up on that line. The running backs, I mean, Josh Jacobs needs to stay healthy, but the fact is that you can give him breaks with Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks, and you're like excited about it. They're ripping off chunks as well. So I guess so the tight end position's a little light with the Musgraves injury, and I think Ben Sims being out. So as long as Kraft can stay healthy, but I mean that dude is such a monster too. You're talking about Jermichael Finley since last time you just had like a dominating, just big tight end like that. I mean, Jermichael Finley wasn't half the blocker that Tucker Kraft is anyways. So I'm just saying, it's just a really exciting football team and they're all young, so that's why I think the ceiling is so high is because it's just like, they don't know what consistent football feels like, like playing at a consistent level, and I think it's starting to
How
click.
long? So this is a conversation that I've had with plenty of people and have heard. How long do you say that a player is young, a team is young? How long do we give this Packers team that designation of, well, they're a
Mm,
young team? Because that was all of last season,
mhm.
and now we're over halfway through this season.
Well, so the problem is, as long as that we're statistically the youngest team in the NFL, we are going to be a young football team. You know what I mean? Like our makeup, the roster age is just so much lower than the rest of the league.
Sure.
That being said, yeah, at some point you're using age to explain away just bad football plays, not bad play, but just like the wrong plays, penalties, and all that. I would say next year, 3 years, everybody will have 3 years of experience, pretty much, who's going to impact the game in a very serious way. And I mean that because it'll be Jordan Love,
Yep.
it'll be Reed and Wicks, and then decisions will be made about Watson and Dobbs. So it's like I think once you start seeing contracts kind of rounding out as opposed to rounding in, I think that's probably the biggest indicator of that. But I mean, dude, as long as they keep clocking in as the youngest team, they're going to be a young football team, So it's either that or they go win the Super Bowl. The Bengals were a really young football team until they went to the Super Bowl, and everyone went, well, they've arrived, So there are other things.
But that was kind of the thought of after last year was people were already saying, oh, okay, this Packers team is already there. They're just and we were like, not yet. Let's see how next year goes.
I think they played well enough last year to show that the window was open sooner. I think everyone thought 24 and 25 were going to be off years. And it was like, well, this is what happens when you push all your chips in with Rodgers. You bring all his buddies back. But to completely gut the roster the way they did and then still be competitive, I think that's what really it is. People just were not mentally prepared to be like, the Packers could win a Super Bowl 2 years after Rodgers, know?
Can we pause, by the way, on this conversation? And quickly, just because you brought up Rodgers, can we talk about that for a second?
The fact that he should be benched, he should be cut. They should not want him back, and they should pull the documentary off Netflix. Which part do you want to talk about?
Yeah, all of that, plus the fact that he's saying that, like, the conversations are already starting of Rodgers not being back in New York next year, and does he want to play? Will he continue to play? And everyone going, oh my God, is he going to end up in Minnesota?
Oh, I don't think so, because I don't think the Vikings have. I don't think the Vikings have. Yeah. There's this whole thing where they're like, yeah, well, they might not want to pay Sam Darnold, and it's like, what, they're going to want to pay a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers while their roster is competing now. He just inherited what people thought would be a playoff contending Super Bowl contender. I mean, here's the real truth: Tom Brady is the exception that proved the rule, not the new rule. Not just because you're 40 doesn't mean you can play like you're 27. And it's like an Achilles injury at 39. Took him to 40, and now he's 41. Like, the dude just isn't the player that he was. And I think the Packers are too classy of an organization to say it, and they're not petty enough to flat out have Gutekunst. Maybe in 20 years he'll say, you know what, we knew he was declining, and this was us trading Josh Hader before it really turned into a depreciating asset. Because everyone says they should have traded Aaron Rodgers the year before. Maybe that's true, but they're lucky they didn't trade him the year after, So it's like,
right. Well, everyone that said they should have traded him the year before are like, yeah, but you were never going to do that after.
Yeah, nobody trades a back-to-back NFL MVP
correct,
who did it later. You know what I mean? It's just like,
that's insane.
There's so many people. I don't know. You heard it a lot more on the radio than I ever did, but it's like takes like that
every day, every single
day.
day.
Can you just think critically or just pass this one note card? Like, it's like people are just like reading a book and they're like, on chapter 1, this happens. This is my opinion now. And they turn the page and they go, oh shit, now this is my opinion. It's like, there's a whole book. Just wait to read the book and then form an opinion about the whole book.
Right.
So.
But
I'm not telling you how to fan. Okay. I'm not telling you how to fan. I'm just
kind of sounds like you're telling them how to fan.
I'm telling people how to maybe just process information or, apply context.
Stop telling them how to fan. Right. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in Minnesota. I don't think he's going to play.
I think he retires. I think this season is low key embarrassing. And I don't think it's enough to tarnish a reputation or anything like that, but it's just
it's close. But it's close. If he makes one more mistake, whether it be he stays in New York or he goes somewhere else and then also fails, it's going to be a situation where it's like, okay, this was this was more about the Packers than it was about Aaron Rodgers. It's the same thing that happened with Brady and Belichick, right? It was, we never knew who was the true star. Was it Belichick or Brady? And then Brady went and won another Super Bowl, and Belichick couldn't do anything in New England. And I think that if Belichick would have stuck around even one more year, like, it would have done the same thing to him. He got out at the absolute latest he could have and didn't go somewhere else to coach or do something else. Like, he had to be done.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the fact that Bill
didn't
didn't
same
yeah.
boat.
Yeah, I think Bill probably should have resigned before he got let go. I mean, those conversations on the record were very cordial. You could tell in those NFL Europe games. What was it? The son of Bob Kraft's son was leading over, being like, "We got to figure something else out." You know what I mean? So, and I get it, right? It's like, he was like McCarthy. The message got stale, except for instead of having Mike McCarthy, you had the greatest head coach to ever, coach the game. So you get a little more mileage out of that. My thing about Aaron Rodgers is, yeah, you're right. I think he needs to retire, because if he goes and has another lame duck season, it just kind of becomes sad. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like, oh, the weird anti-vax fucking Trumper. Maybe he's not a Trumper, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Point being, he's been on a lot of podcasts saying a lot of wacko stuff. I don't really want to make this that political. But the point being, he just turns into this unlikable character who now is going to become an unlikable athlete because his play is bad. And so it's like, you just got to get out before you do this for another season. Because he still talks like he could salvage this season. And it's like, my brother in Christ, you have not thrown it over 300 yards in a very long time. So just,
Right. You're not the person that anyone thought you could be.
Yeah.
Now, anyone who believed in you.
You were the savior for the Jets.
Right.
LOL.
Right. And all you needed were these guys. You needed your guys to come. You needed Devontae.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you needed the same guys who you and them couldn't win playoff games that you just needed to make one big play for. That's why when people are like, we're saying that, and it's like, well, did the Jets get the better deal or to the Packers? It's like, well, Aaron Rodgers was put in every position to go win a playoff game to get back to the Super Bowl, and he could not do it every single time.
Not for the last
the last
years?
run. Yeah, I would say the last two, he was in positions our stars needed to make star plays.
Correct.
And it starts with him, and he couldn't do it. He looked average at best in those games.
Also, and a lot of those games, you got to remember, one of those games was the first game. It wasn't even like a NFC Championship game. That game against the Niners was not an NFC Championship game. Like, it wasn't like consistently you were on the doorstep either. Like, there was a ton of disappointment at the end of Rodgers' time here. And then he went to New York and did the same damn thing. So I think he retires. I don't think he goes somewhere else. If he did end up going somewhere else, I want it to be the Vikings. It's just crazy. It's just crazy how things have played out that way. And I would just for the sake of seeing history repeat itself, I think it'd be amazing.
It'd be funny.
It'd be hilarious. Especially because when he was here, it was so much about stop comparing me to Favre. I'm not Favre.
Yeah.
And then you're doing the same damn thing.
Yeah. I will say that the Jets on paper was the best destination for him. If he could play better. I think he also went in there and went, oh, this team is bad. Like foundationally bad.
Correct.
He got the home inspection and he's like, this is going to be pretty sick. And then he got in there and was like, the foundation is doing what?
Yeah, right.
There's termites in the walls. And nobody wanted to tell me that, so, and it's like, he may be a general contractor, but he can't fix all of those problems. There's not a lot of quarterbacks who could.
And he's one of them. So,
and he is. Yeah, it's a great point. Well,
back to the Packers. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this game against the Lions. All right.
Yep.
Packers Lions in Detroit. Lions, as we said, have some injuries. So do the Packers. It's not like the Packers are completely healthy coming into this game, but they are coming off of two good wins against Lions that have won their last two games, but not in the dominating fashion we saw them starting the season. John, you've said that you think that this is going to be a pretty much even game. If you were the odds makers, you would put this at even. Is that what you're saying?
No,
maybe give the Lions a home field advantage.
I think they would get a 3 point. I would give them a 3.5 point favorite.
Well, 3 or 3.5, because that's different.
Well, Josh, I understand that it's half a point. What
'Cause
is
I
the
think
odds right
like
now?
I
What are
think
what are
like
the
three is the home field advantage. Might even actually be
Yes.
2.5. So home field advantage.
The Lions are 3.5 point favorites in the latest Packers versus Lions odds. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Yeah, that's
Okay.
where I'd set it. I would set it at 3.5. Right now, you want to go beat the best. You want to be the best. You got to go beat the best. So why wouldn't the
It's the
Lions get
nature
a
of the way
little?
I've said.
Yeah.
Yes,
Woo!
it's very. I think that's fair. I think. Man, I'm not ready to say my score prediction. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know, John.
I don't know.
I think that the Lions win this game.
Okay.
I think the Packers put up a really, really good fight. I don't think that I think they continue to play at the level they played the last two games. I think there are frustrating moments. I don't think they play a perfect game. I don't think that I think they have some dumb mistakes. I think that they have, a few passes that maybe don't connect that go, oh, he was open. Why did, a few of those situations. Um, and I think those those alone are the reason why they don't win the game, because I think that the Lions are just, even with the injuries, I think the Lions are too good to be able to get past otherwise.
Yeah.
You just, I feel like this Lions team, you have to be perfect against if you're this Packers team. And I just don't see him being perfect in this game.
Okay. So the score.
Not ready for a score prediction.
Well, you better vamp until you.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 38-34.
Damn, that's a high scoring game.
I don't. Yeah, I think both offenses are the reason why these teams are here.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I think the fact that the Lions did not attempt many passes over 10 yards, they had to dink and dunk their way, and they did it off of some of the worst play in linebacking with Quay Walker. Evan Williams was out randomly, and that forced Javon Bullard back into the slot. I think there's just a lot of things about that last game which were worst case scenarios. Quay Walker is making me eat my words. If he keeps playing like this, sign him. He looks great. He is doing everything right. I know it's tough, but it's just like at some point.
You say that. You said the same thing about Myers too.
Here's the problem. These guys, I'm more than willing to be wrong about these guys. They're the Packers. I want the Packers players to play well.
Yes, I understand.
Quay Walker has been playing. It's not even like, he went back to average.
John?
The last two after the worst one.
It's 2 games.
I'm just saying that with the defense changing, it's very clear that they took a lot of responsibilities off his plate. It seems like he is just reading and reacting, and that's where his athleticism shines. I think if Javon Bullard's back in the slot, or if they play just a traditional defense and get 3 linebackers on the field because of needing to set the edge and contain the runner, as in like plug the inside zone gaps, I think that there's a lot going on right for the Packers and not. I do fear that with a starting cornerback duo of Stokes, because I think he starts with Valentine being out, and Keyshawn Nixon, I do think you're liable. But Evan Williams is back. And if you play a cover 2 and put it, really put a lid on top of what they can do.
But they're playing a cover X.
When they're playing cover X with another guy up top, cover 2, I just think there's enough that can be done. And I think the Lions, the defensive line has shown me enough. Decker is out. That matters.
Say that.
What?
Okay. Okay.
Listen, Josh, why would I watch the game if I didn't think the Packers could win? And they're good enough to think
you're still a fan.
Win. Yeah, you're right. And don't tell me how to. And that's why I have the Packers winning this game. I have the Packers winning this game.
Yep.
37
to
31.
Okay, so still.
Yeah, it's still going to be close. It's going to be close. Give me a break.
Both I think they can do a one touchdown game.
I'll do what I did last time. It's going to be 37-24. The Lions are going to be in desperation.
Yeah.
They're going to, late game, prevent.
I see both of I just don't see a situation where both of these teams don't rely heavily on scoring and showing what their offenses can do.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to shine. And I think that this is going to come down to being a pure example of what the true separation between these teams is right now at this point, which is the Lions finding a way to win games. It's going to come down to something at the end of the game to where the Lions just find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's going to be like I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I don't think it's going to be an end to end. Lions are in the lead the whole time, and Packers are playing catch up. I think it's going to be an end a back and forth game that's going to end with the Lions pulling something out, doing what
do you think the Packers are going to be driving towards the end of the game and maybe there's like a turnover or a stop on downs? Or do you think we're just like playing catch up to get even up to 34? Because like when they're this close, something happened. So I'm curious. Like I think the Packers are going to get out ahead early.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be a repeat.
I think it's going to be very back and forth. I think it's going to be, 7-7, 14, 10, 17, 14, kind of a lot of scoring, not a lot of punting in this game
which is a shame because Daniel Whelan might be the best weapon we have on the entire team.
But you don't want to use your best weapon.
I mean, that man flips a field like no other,
Yeah.
Anyways,
don't flip it,
Yeah.
Have just more scoring.
Leave the flipping to Missy Elliott.
Yes. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. We'll see. And if we go in on Friday, I go, well, that didn't happen. I mean, I would not be surprised by so many outcomes of this game.
If it goes the way it's going to be a great game regardless.
Yeah. In a way that I made that bet with you for the 49ers because I was making a bet against your preconceived idea of what this 49ers team is versus the reality of what they are. This game truly is two of the top 3 or 4 best teams in the NFC. I mean, the Vikings have a better record. I think the Packers are a better football team.
I agree. I agree with that. Was very disappointed, by the way, in the fact that the Cardinals could not beat the Vikings. I thought that this game for the Vikings was going to be a true toughie because the Cardinals, despite their record, is, they play good football. And they've been having a way better year than they have years past. And they still lost. They still lost the Vikings, and that really sucked. It really
sucked.
Was not a fan there. Anyway, okay. We got a little bit of time left here. Let's talk basketball, which I said is very transferable from football. They're practically the same sports.
Same game. They're all wearing Guardian caps.
Right. And so can you imagine? And so for that reason, let's talk about Giannis and Dame.
You want to start with Giannis and Dame?
Yes, I want to start with Giannis and Dame.
Yeah, baby, their chemistry is humming.
The last time we talked about this Bucks team, it was these two can't play together. They can't do it, John.
You said that. I did not.
Ever the
optimist. I've been proven right by sheer athleticism and patience and letting people figure it out.
I heard people saying
they look the best they've ever looked together. 100%. And I think the biggest change is that they finally are letting Giannis play point forward. I think they're not running the offense through Dame fully. It seems like he's running the offense. Dame is around. He's clearly the better player. And, he's just like his shots are less streaky.
Yeah.
He's a dominant force in the paint. His mid-range is up to 48% right now, and his previous, and this isn't for the full season, so you never know, but just looking at snapshots, his previous season, 2021, his highest mid-range field goal percentage was 41.5. So he's 7.5 points higher. He is playing out of his mind. The fact that people have him as the 4th best player in the NBA is an absolute joke, and I think it's because of context about getting bounced in the last 2 rounds. But the dude is a regular season monster. He is the lifeblood of this team. He's the straw that stirs the drink. And the fact is that with them running the ball through Giannis, over the last 10 games, Giannis is averaging 8 assists per game, and Dame is still averaging 9 assists per game. So you're talking about getting the ball to Dame for good shots and Dame just facilitating after that. So there's this like really beautiful
they're getting their numbers
flow chart. Yeah.
They're both getting their numbers, and it's working. Like we said that, imagine if Giannis had legit help, right? And then when we brought Dame in, it didn't mesh. It was either one had a great night and the other didn't, or they both had a bad night. Like those were the only two outcomes. And this is the first time that we're really seeing these guys gel. I don't know what the flip was. There wasn't a coaching change. There wasn't something else. If there was like a behind the scenes, something that happened, it hasn't been addressed or made public. But I love it. I love that they're playing, and we're seeing it. I love that we're also seeing this at a time when the Bucks are being featured a little bit more nationally, and being the national media is being forced to talk about them because of the in-season tournament, and where they're at there. So they won.
Oh, you mean the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, your Milwaukee Bucks, for the in-season tournament?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
it's a mouthful, but it's true. That's who we're talking about, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing the Magic at home. That's already been decided, that with the point differentials and the way it all shook out. So,
but I love the fact that it's happening at a point where everyone that doesn't care about the Bucks is being forced to watch and talk about the Bucks.
Yeah, can we talk about? I was so wrong about the in-season tournament 2 years ago when they announced it before the start of last season. I was like, why do we need an in-season tournament? And it's like pretty quickly in short order, I was watching games in November on a Tuesday night, being very excited. Who would have thought, sports fans, if you just make the games have special meaning, we will care and we will get excited. I love the in-season
I still
tournament.
think it's stupid.
It's made it so you can't just ignore the NBA until after the new year. And that's like really the main goal of it. I think it's awesome. Yeah. I think it's really cool that they offer $500K to each player. Like that's not a big deal to Giannis or Dame.
Or
it's a huge deal. Well, it just means you can see the effort. You're seeing playoff basketball in November because these guys are playing for the younger guys on the team. I have it as a note in our show notes. I'm just not surprised, baby. You're telling me Doc Rivers could win $500,000 and you thought he wasn't going to pull out all the stops? He's known cheapskate, Doc Rivers. He's going to do everything he can to win $500,000. It's great. But
I look, I'm just
hater.
I still don't love the tournament.
Hater.
I don't. It doesn't provide juice for me.
You're gonna hate it until you have to buy all the merch. Your classic catchphrase.
Absolutely not.
You're gonna buy all the merch.
Please tell me there's not merch made for the winner of the in-season tournament.
If they win the Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Arab Emirates Cup, you're gonna get merch. I know.
No way.
Probably make it. I'll look it up right now. Keep talking.
Yeah, find out if they made it for last year and tell me what sites immediately had it discounted, because there's no way that anyone gave a shit. And that's my whole point. No one cares. No one cares. I'm just happy that the Bucks are finding a way to gel, specifically Giannis and Dame, at a time when you and other people that are buying into this in-season tournament are watching the game. And so it's not something to where it's on, just local programming. It's there's more hype. They're being forced to talk about it because of the seating and everything else going on with this very unnecessary, as a fan who gives a crap, tournament.
Well, I think as fans, we should.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I did. I'm on NBAstore.com, powered by Fanatics. They have shirts and a commemorative plaque.
Oh my!
Not as discounted as you would expect, because this cup has prestige. Damn it!
No,
I just
doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yes, it does.
I have such a hard time believing that this is a in-season. I hate this.
I didn't make it up. I don't know what you're looking up. I just told you it exists. Anyways, let's go back to the Bucks.
God, they do.
Why wouldn't they make merch for this?
What do you mean? They won.
It's a thing.
Sucks.
You're wrong, and you're being a hater, and I don't appreciate it.
Because
first of all,
look at this. Lakers mint 2023 NBA in-season tournament champions bronze coin photo. What are we doing?
LeBron's coin.
That's what they should have called it. Reason? This is the dumbest thing. I would rather buy a Central Division.
You probably do, though.
T-shirt.
That's my point. My point is you probably already have those. So why not just add this to the mix?
No.
I can't wait to buy you one. It's going to be so sick.
Yeah,
I'm going to buy you one.
That's small.
For Jordy. I hear you.
My Lord.
You're 6 foot tall, 10-year-old.
Yeah. Right. He's mammoth.
canonically. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
let's
the
zero
tournament's
back in
not
a little bit.
important, but the
Yeah.
Bucks are playing well, and that is what's important.
Yeah. Taurean Prince is a revelation. He's playing so good. I cannot believe the Lakers wanted him out. I think it's going to be perfect timing if and when Chris Middleton comes back. I'm hoping there's some reports that it could be as soon as this weekend. I'm not holding my breath anymore. But it just the fact that we're getting this play out of Taurean Prince, and it means that potentially he's going to be the first man off the bench is huge. The fact that our bench is going to look like Taurean Prince, AJ Green, and Gary Trent Jr., and then you add in Bobby Portis if he's still on the team. Can
I say something crazy?
Say it.
Can we not, if Middleton is ready to go, can we still not can we have him be off the bench?
Dude, I hate this conversation. I mean, the only reason I would say
if Prince is playing well right now, I don't need to push Middleton because the in-season tournament doesn't fucking matter, and neither does this what's happening right now if the team is playing well enough to win games.
You need him.
Middleton that's been injured time and time again.
He needs to start. He needs to be with the first team rotation minutes. What I will say is it could be by name only that he starts. I would love to see like a 50-50 split. Maybe even less so to ramp up. But what I'm saying is like Taurean Prince is like the ideal role player for the Bucks, right? It's like somebody who can facilitate. Yeah. He's good off the second look. He either is taking shots or finding an even better shot. He's just doing a lot right. And I think right now getting him off the bench would do a lot in terms of just helping facilitate scoring when Giannis and Dame are on the court. I think ultimately, do I think Chris is going to carry bench lineups towards the end of the season? Absolutely. He's a really good floor general. He's really great at all that. He can find his own shot. He's a really great microwave scorer. So it's like you can put Chris Middleton on a team, like a lineup with younger, more athletic guys, let them play defense, and then just run your offense through him. And he can carry lineups where you need to rest Giannis and Dame. But it's not lost. It should not be lost on all of us that they need more reps together, especially if this is the version of Giannis and Dame we need to make a push. He's got to get in and then start playing with them. So
it's just at what cost? I don't know. I'm at this point in the season, it's very hard for me to not say, look, if you finally found something that's gelling, don't touch it. Because we watched
hear me out.
Have 2 wins?
Yeah.
For way too long.
What if the starting lineup looked like Giannis? Well, I don't know. I started with Giannis. Dame at point guard. Chris at shooting guard. Taurean Prince at small forward. Giannis and Brooke. That could work. Yeah, there's just so many different ways we could see how this works. You know, Gary Trent Jr. off the bench has completely revitalized his production. He looks incredible off the bench. Defensively, nastier than we've ever. So it's just like, you know, sometimes just not guarding the best guy all the time makes your play better. And I just think like, who knows what that means with TP? Who knows what that means with Chris? I don't know, but Chris is one of the best Bucks in NBA history. I'm not going to relegate him to bench duty.
With that.
Okay.
I'm just saying I need him later.
Yeah, we all do.
And clearly he has something going on injury-wise. So
the double ankle surgery is probably not the best, not the most helpful.
So don't wear him out in these games when team chemistry is on the way up. The play overall is on the way up. I don't need to bring in a piece that is going to be vital later right now. There's still so much basketball that's going to be played. Just give it time. Bring him back slowly. You don't have to bring him back, throw him in the starting rotation, and have give him a ton of minutes right off the bat. I just don't think it's necessary. But we'll see how that goes. Also, it doesn't matter because he's not going to be back right away. Don't get your hopes up. Stop getting your hopes up that he's going to be back.
Breath. Well, I just think it's like as long as Giannis and Dame Giannis is putting up 32 points a game right now on average.
Yeah, he's sexy.
Damian Lillard is 26. So my point being, like, the other not so subtle secret is if Giannis and Dame can keep producing like that, Chris doesn't have to do a whole lot to really impact this team in a really meaningful way. You know? So the Bucks are in a great spot because they're in a great spot because they clearly turned it around. They're 11-9. They're above 500.
Yep.
Huge deal. The standings have them as the 5th seed right now.
Yep.
So that's a big deal.
That if they keep this trajectory will be
Yeah.
Probably two or three,
Yeah.
if they're winning at this pace. So I mean, there's just so much time left for basketball. But I like the fact that the Bucks are doing better. The Packers are doing better. Sports teams in Wisconsin are doing better.
Yeah. Brewers undefeated this offseason.
Yep. We also don't talk about the Badgers, or college football in here. So we're not going to talk about the.
I will talk about
game streak.
I will talk about Badgers football when they make it to the college football playoffs, and I will talk about Marquette and Badger basketball when the tourney starts, because neither program in any division has ever showed that they can field a competitive enough team to actually compete later into these tournaments or playoffs.
Yeah,
I hate watching the Badgers
tournament. March Madness is my jam.
Well, I mean, Marquette actually can construct a roster to compete with people, which is exciting. But I mean, to watch the same old like farm-fed Badger boys get beat by 40 by, Universal Coastal Carolina.
You watch your mouth. They were right there 12 years ago.
Hey, I was that's right. 2015. That 2015. I remember I watched it. I had just moved to Portland, and no joke, 5 days later they were in the championship. Lost to Duke. Grayson Allen, known scumbag. Yeah, I remember that very well.
And former Milwaukee Buck. Yep.
Oh, was he? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was the GA.
I thought you were joking. Yeah,
he was the GA that got a fame. Yes, I know who Grayson Allen is. You know?
Did you know he was playing with the Bucks? Do you know he was a former Milwaukee Buck? Oh.
I did know that actually. I remember when he got signed, and everyone was like, "Holy cow, they got this dude." He's basically Dante DiVincenzo, but at lower cost.
Right. That's what they said. Now, what if we got that scumbag on our team?
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
that's what they said.
That's scumbag.
Doesn't matter. He's gone now.
Yeah.
He's gone now, and Giannis and Dame are gelling. Packers are gelling. Love and Jacobs are gelling. Everything's gelling. Everything's been gelling. I love it.
Yeah.
John, we got the game in 24 hours.
Yeah.
From the time we're taping this.
Yeah. Bucks game in 20 minutes.
Bucks game in 20 minutes. And I'm very excited to see what happens. And we're going to have our next episode. We're going to be back on track. We're going to have that coming out Sunday night into Monday.
Yep.
So watch for that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate you. We will not tell you how to fan on Don't Tell Me How to Fan, but we will tell you to like, subscribe, comment below, because we do appreciate when you do that. And to tune in next time, because we are not done yet.